All right, Jesse Haurua, brother, welcome to the Better Project.
Thanks, my bro. Thanks for having us, and appreciate you.
Small world, eh? Small fucking world.
Isn't it funny how we first met, eh?
Hey, bro, how'd you find me again?
Through Matty Grant.
Good old Matty Grant. If you're listening,
Cheers,
brother,
bro.
you're a legend.
I hit him up because I was listening to his podcast and I heard him talking about you and one of your potties, and he was saying that you live in the mountains. And I was like, oh, what? This guy lives in the mountains and he's doing some awesome stuff. So that's when I connected with you, sent you a message, and then boom, met you on the street.
Fucking crazy times, bro. Let's pull that mic up close to you, man. Yeah, awesome. But yeah, man, thank you so much for taking time to come on here today, bro. Super grateful. The sun's out. Means it's going to be a good potty.
God country, mate.
God's country. Because how long ago you been living up here now?
So probably about 2 years now.
And where were you living before that?
I was living in Cambridge Park, so that Penrith area.
What's the difference you've seen?
Oh, it's cleaner air.
The fresh air.
Like I said, God's country. But yeah, it's a whole different vibe up here. Love it.
Awesome, bro. And what are you grateful for today? Let's say 3 things you're grateful for.
Oh, yes, love it. All right. Grateful. Obviously, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be on your podcast, The Better Project. Grateful for some of the bare necessities that we have in life, like partner, friends, family. And number 3, probably just clean water, food, roof over my house, roof over my head. Are probably the top 3 things.
The simple things that we take for granted, eh?
100%.
And for all the listeners, if you are watching, you see Jesse rocking the Better Life merch. You would have seen him on the Instagram pages. He's now our model. Good looking model as well.
Jeez, bro.
But yeah, man, appreciate you, supporting the brand and supporting what I'm doing.
No, I love it. Love what you're doing, and I love the community that you're building. It's man, I'm just one person that reached out. Imagine all the people that are reaching out to you and connecting with you. So some great stuff you're doing.
Appreciate it, man. Let's jump into your story. Who is Jesse Haurua? What's your upbringing like? Because, we've spoken prior to this when we first met. You told me a bit about your story. It's been a roller coaster, I should say.
Yeah.
A lot of obstacles, a lot of adversities. Let's dive in, bro.
All right. I hope your listeners are ready because this is going to be a heavy one.
We should probably put a trigger warning or something.
Yeah.
Childhood trauma. Is it assaults? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's some sexual abuse in there as well. If it's going to be quite deep, this episode, so we'll try and make it as fun as we can, but I'll jump straight.
That's what the podcast is about, bro. Talking to real people and sharing raw stories.
Here we go. I hope we're all ready. So I was born in New Zealand, born in a hospital called Middlemore Hospital. So I don't know if you know the UFC, you're following the UFC fighters, but what's his name? I forget his name now.
You're telling the story, bro.
Whitaker.
Whitaker, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Whitaker. Yeah, he was born in the same hospital. So there are some great people that come out of that hospital. So we grew up in an area called Mangere. So anyone who's listening that's from New Zealand, it's a pretty rough area. It's pretty ghetto out there.
There's a lot of gangs and stuff over in New Zealand, isn't there?
Yeah, massive, huge. If you're the gangs over here are pretty nuts, but if you go back to New Zealand,
why do you think there's such a big gang community over there?
I reckon it's just it's just evolving. It just keeps evolving, kind of like here, but it's been around for years, years and years.
It's low socioeconomic, poverty and stuff like that leads to that.
Yeah, especially in those types of places like Mangere.
Yeah,
it's pretty rough and very rough. It's that's why people that live over there, they come over to Australia, try to get out of the area. Not just that area, but those types of areas, because it's so hard to live in those kind of areas.
They want better for themselves and their family. Yeah,
it's a bit less opportunity, but people do do some amazing things from those areas as well. But yeah, it's a massive problem over there with I guess that type of thing in gangs. So luckily we're over here. I think that's one of the reasons why my parents moved us from New Zealand when I was about 2 over to South Australia.
So you wouldn't have remembered much over there then?
No, nothing. Yeah,
so you're Aussie, bro?
I'm full-blown Aussie in a dark full of skin. So I listen to, I play AFL as well. So it's, who's this older fella? Well, pretty Aussie. You can tell by my accent. So we moved over to Adelaide, South Australia. we shifted around a couple of suburbs, but one of the main suburbs that we grew up and lived in, where all this childhood trauma eventuated
Yep.
and carried on, was a place called Nollunga Downs. So that's so we grew up in like housing commission.
Okay.
It was my mum, my dad, my two younger sisters, myself, and my two elder siblings.
So big Islander family.
Fairly big islander. It's pretty small compared to most now these days. But yeah, we grew up in a place there. And that was really traumatic sort of upbringing. To me, it was normal at that time. But now that I've grown up, obviously the things that happened there were not normal. It's quite violent, hostile, arguing, fights, like physical altercations as well between my dad and siblings, my older siblings. Police around the house all the time. I remember there's one time, there's probably a couple times, things got that bad between my dad and my two older siblings, where they were fighting, arguing, and blowing up. Things were getting broken. The next day, my mum, like she was shit scared. We all were. So we had to run away. So she pulled us out of school. I think it's me at the time. My two young siblings were already, they're too young to go to school. Anyway, they pulled me out of school, got home. The car was packed full of all our gear. And then we went over to a place, I think it's called Malang in Adelaide. Malang Caravan Park. This is probably one of my, given it was a pretty sticky situation, it's probably one of my favourite places that we had a holiday because we're at the beach, we're out camping.
It was like the only good memories you kind of had.
Yeah. And I don't, like, to be honest with you, I don't have very many. I've got a handful of good memories, but most of them are all like trauma.
Yeah.
And really bad. But yeah, this place I went to, Malang, we went crabbing, we went fishing. It was great. Like, it was one of the best memories I can remember as a really young fella. And there was no like arguing and police at our house and us having to go to other people's houses to, I guess, be cared for.
Yep.
While parents and that were sort of, doing their thing and blowing up at each other and punching on or whatever was happening. So, yeah, it's quite a bad upbringing. So that happened for a while, and while that was happening as well, like I was always looking after my younger siblings, so my two little sisters. So when that was happening, if my dad was punching on with my older brother, or my older brother or my older sister were punching on, because it did get physical at times. And when you're a little kid, that's scary, that shit.
Did you feel like you had to like protect your little sisters
Yeah,
from that?
that's what I did. It was just instinct. No one taught me how to do it. It was just instinct. Maybe unconsciously, because I would have seen mum sort of looking out for us where she could. But yeah, I was always looking after my two little siblings, in the bedroom with them, just like protecting them, making sure they're all right, and talking to them and sort of like reassuring that they're all right. And I was only a little fella. I was only like, I reckon I was between the ages of like 5 and let's say 7. So I was quite young.
Yeah.
So I was always looking out for them when that stuff was happening. And then as we got older, that stuff continued at this house. And funny we're talking about it, because I looked up the address.
Yeah.
And like on Google Maps,
I
looked at the address and I looked out the house, and it just
brought back all these memories.
Brought back all these memories of like fighting, arguing, police at the house, us being rushed off to other people's houses to like get away from it all. Me looking after my two little sisters, me being alone as well. I was alone a lot of the times. A lot of times stuff was happening, or my older siblings weren't home or whatever, and my mum would have taken the younger kids.
Yep.
So I was always left alone. And that carried on into like my earlier teen years as well. So I developed this thing, I guess, of being alone and figuring things out for myself.
It's like your coping mechanism.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, it might sound bad, but at the same time I was learning how to look after myself.
You had to grow up quick because you didn't really have a childhood.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So, I loved looking after my sisters, even though it was really bad situations. I'd still do it again, and I still do. but like there's something I learnt from it all. I learned a lot from all these types of challenges and this childhood experiences, and I guess like it's like a blessing in disguise, you know. So yeah, that happened for quite a while, quite a long time. I don't really know. I'm gonna say 5+ years that was going on.
Yep.
A lot of the time, and even we moved out from that house and we moved into a place called an area in Adelaide called Moana. So a lot of people in South Australia, Moana is like one of the spots you go to hang out with your friends, family, drive on the beach, spend the day on the beach, go surfing, all that kind of stuff. So we end up moving to a place called Moana, and that fighting, arguing, yelling, screaming, police, my brother and sister like having brawls pretty much.
Really?
Yeah, you could hear stuff like that. And like, my old man getting involved as well at situations, and mum trying to break it up. Police at the house. I'm going to tell the story. I'm laughing because it's funny to me now, but at the time it wasn't funny. Yeah. I remember my older brother and my older sister, they were like, I was looking after my younger siblings because all this shit was going down. Anyway, I remember getting to the front door, and my sister and my older sister had a big rock or brick, and threw it through my brother's front car window, just shattered, boom. And then another time, I think I remember her having a knife. Oh no, sorry, my brother had a knife and stabbed her bonnet, just as a like retaliation thing. Police rock up, we jet back inside. I look after my siblings. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that happening, and that's only my side of it. That's not even like my younger sister's side of it. So when they're ready, I speak to them as well, but they're still healing.
Yeah,
they're still healing. But having guys like yourself and all those other guys that are really talking about the mental health game, it's really helped me grow. And on top of that, doing my own therapy.
Yeah,
therapy's like trauma-based therapy.
Yep.
That's really helpful.
What does that involve for you?
So it's like this, very similar.
Talking, yep.
Yeah, very similar. Talking with your therapist, and you dive deep in whatever you want to talk about. You dive straight into it. Bring up your childhood, what happened to your childhood, what things still stick around, what helps you, feel that ease, which a lot of the time there isn't much. All this childhood stuff, it's prevented me from having like decent sleep. Sometimes I have like nightmares and shit like that still.
Yep.
Not as bad, not as frequently as when I was a bit younger, but I think talking about it has really helped. Talking about it with your friends, your family, partner, and the therapist, and doing those other things like reading, exercise. Yeah. Exercise has been a massive one for me. A lot of my friends and family know that like I exercise or I'm doing something every day, and if I don't do something like that, they're like, "Oh, what's wrong with Jesse? Like he's not exercising, so is he feeling all right?" So I think training is a good way to get out that energy and give you focus on something else. I think that's really that's played a massive part in me growing and be able to live like a stable as possible life as I can, along with other things as well. But I think that's one of the big things for me is training, because it's my outlet, and physical exercise, like physical sports, like physical contact sports, like AFL, rugby, that type of stuff.
Yep.
It's a good outlet. So those are some of the things that have helped me along the way. But yeah, like I was saying, going back to when I was talking about the that incident with my siblings, that kind of stuff was quite regular. I think I'm going to say I was around 8, maybe 10, between 10 and 14, around that time when that was still happening. And then by the time I was about, I think 14, 15, it sort of eased off because my siblings moved out and
Yep.
no one was ever home anyway. And then I think when I was about 8. When I was 8, I went over with my dad because my sisters were always travelling with my mum and it's always just me alone. So when I think it was 8, went to New Zealand with my dad to meet his family. Now this is a pretty traumatic type of thing, so that's happened to me, and I haven't spoken to it on live audio or anything like that before. So it's pretty big for me, and it's going to help me grow. I know that. So I went over to meet my grandparents for the first time, my dad's side. I was at their house. There was a bunch of kids there as well, and I was in the garage playing or something like that, and then I was indecently assaulted in a sexual manner by one of my cousins. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I was in some strange house with strange people, never met them before, and I felt fucking trapped.
Yeah.
So I got out of there, and then I just stayed outside. I remember staying outside, hanging around a car that was out the front. It was one of the family's car, and I didn't want to go inside. My dad was inside. No one knew what was going on. No one knew what happened. No one knew anything except for the cousin. And I was just hanging outside, and I was like, no, I'm not coming inside. I stayed outside. So the whole time I stayed outside, and then that's sort of all I remember from that memory, which is, it's fucking shit, because that stuff hangs around. Definitely hangs around. And I think it was only maybe like 5 years ago. I told my dad about it.
What was his reaction?
It was pretty shit, to be honest. No offense, Dad, but you could have dealt with it better. He said, "Oh, that's not good, son." And I said, "Yeah, it's fucking shit." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And I said, and he's like, "Oh," because I asked him where he was, like this cousin. He's like, "Oh, he's in New Zealand," and I asked him for his address. He said, "What do you want his address for? What do you want to know?" I said, "Because, I want to get him back. I want to make him pay." It's not, at that time, was like, I thought it was the right decision to talk like that. Obviously it's not. I'm glad I never done anything, acted on it to, sort of inflict harm, I guess. I want to call it that, like that. But yeah, that was pretty damaging for me. But the more I spoke about it, especially with my therapist, the easier it is.
Yeah. Man, thank you for opening up and sharing that. It takes a lot of courage to open up about your past and what's happened. So
thanks. So it was a big deal, but now it's heaps easier to talk about now.
Yeah.
So appreciate you being able to give me that opportunity, and hopefully it what we talk about today can help others out there who might be struggling through this kind of stuff. There's this one thing that I wanted to bring up. Resilience. It's I think it's the capacity to overcome difficult and challenging situations quickly. So I guess people who have gone through things, or even just basic things in life, just getting up and going to the gym. You're building that. If you're going through something and you're still rocking up at the end of the day, doing what you set your day out to do, you're being resilient. It's about doing what you set yourself out to do, and if you come up with it, you come up to a challenge, and you overcome it, and you keep overcoming it, and you're getting better, and you get stronger, and then that's how you build your resilience. And I think that's a word that gets missed a lot, I guess. Don't really hear about people talking about resilience much. But
they say like mental toughness, stuff like that. Resilience it's getting spoken about a lot more. Like mental resilience and stuff, but it needs to be spoken about because even when it comes to mental health, there's going to be days when you don't even want to get out of bed. And it takes a lot of mental toughness and resilience just to get out of bed.
That's right. Yeah. So I think resilience can be used in all aspects of your life, whether I think, and the term that gets used, I think, is like mental toughness as well. So I think that's one huge thing I think that I've learned over the years. I'm pushing 35 now. Just being resilient and being really like mentally tough, and knowing that regardless of, well, not regardless, but if you're going through some challenges in life, you can always find a way to get through them. Whether that's through talking to a friend, getting some help with professionally, finding your own way, like sort of like what I did, finding your own way how to deal with the situation and become a better and stronger person. I think that's quite an important thing that I've learned over the years. I think there's I guess another thing I'll reflect back on was when I was, after that incident happened, all that stuff that I just spoke about, those are the main things I remember as, now even. Those are the memories I have. There are some like good memories, but most of it's like really bad traumatic memories. And like research and studies show that when a child or someone's gone through such traumatic events in their lives, it can cause like memory loss.
Okay.
Because all of the negative things that happen in their life outweigh the positive stuff, so it pushes the memories aside.
Yeah.
So that's what my therapist was telling me as well. Like, if you're going through all this traumatic stuff, so it's kind of just, it's blanked out a lot of your memory. So therapy helps. It can help bring that memory stuff back. But yeah, like I was saying, like a lot of it was just traumatic memories. A lot of it. And
so when you mention memory, is it just like your past memories, or like say something that happened last week, you're not going to remember that kind of stuff?
For me, it's both past and it can affect me presently as well.
Yeah, okay.
Especially like under stressful situations. So someone who's gone through that type of trauma has a different, I guess, what's the word? They can, I guess, handle a bit more.
Yeah.
Stress-wise, because they grew up in that.
They just like shut off.
Yeah.
And they have
kind
their
of like
coping
they shut off,
Mm-hmm.
and like what common people see as stressful, a person like myself who's gone through all that shit in the past, for a normal situation, we don't think of it as like stressful. So we're a bit like, okay, it's not that bad. Let's figure out a way to do this.
I love that you mentioned that, because like when we're talking about mental health and depression and stuff like that, everyone's situation is different.
Yeah.
Like what you've gone through, you've built that mask and you've built those coping mechanisms, but if someone else went through that, it could affect them way more. Like pain is pain at the end of the day, and everyone's situation is different. So we shouldn't be comparing, my upbringing to your upbringing, because it's totally different.
Yeah, that's right. And, I think it's always great to have conversations about other people's backgrounds, because we can learn from it. We can totally learn from it. What I perceive as normal for me at that age, it's not normal for someone else.
I know. I'm sitting here listening. I'm like, fuck, that is nowhere near my upbringing.
It's like, that was normal for me.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, cool. So my level of understanding, or whatever the word is in terms of seeing this stuff happen, that was just normal to me. But if you put someone who's come from such a loving and caring background, like, I'm sure my parents did their best with the tools they had at that time, but they could have done better if they learned a bit more as we got older. And you put someone else into that situation who sort of comes from a more straighter background, it's not going to be normal for them.
No.
It's going to be traumatic as shit for them. And then if you remove me from, someone who's had like a quite decent upbringing, and put me into their situation, it's going to be like, what the fuck's this? And like, I still get that kind of thing as well. Like, as I was growing up, I never had anyone sort of to turn to, and get advice for. Like my parents never really asked how my day's going. Just those basics, things like that. They never asked how my day was going or check on me, that kind of stuff, until they knew that I was like playing up. And I'll get to that. So I'd always turn to like my friends. My friends were everything because I was able to talk to them.
Yeah.
I was able to go, to hang out with them and spend time with them because, and a lot of my friends that they might be listening now, they have no idea that this was going on for me. So it's probably the first time they're going to hear about all this
So
stuff.
no one knew about any of
There's only
this?
a handful.
Okay.
But even them, those handful of people, they only know small snippets of it.
Yeah, okay.
So, and yeah, my friends were everything and their parents. Like I was closer with all of my friends and their parents than I was with my own parents.
Yeah.
So I felt it so much easier to talk to their parents and ask them how they are and like connect with them over my own parents. Because if I did that with my parents at that time and or say my teens, it felt weird for me. I was like, what? This is weird being like having these conversations with my own parents at that time, which is sad. Like,
Yeah, it is.
It's sad.
Do you think if you didn't have those relationships with your friends and their parents, like you wouldn't be in this position that you are today?
Yeah, definitely. Because they were like
like saving grace kind of thing. Like they kept you on track kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't think it was like it wasn't a conscious thing that they were doing. They were just being normal. And that I guess I saw that as being able to be close to them and be that parent figure, be that sibling figure. And like even now I'm close I'm closer with my partner's parents than I am with my own parents. So my mum passed away 5 years ago or something like that. But I'm closer with her parents than I am with my own. And I still struggle trying to be open up with my dad.
Yeah.
I love him as my dad, but I love him from a distance. Have you heard that term?
Yeah, like he's your dad, but at the end of the day, like what's happened and his toxicity and stuff like that, you don't want to really be that close to him.
Yeah, I don't want to. It's going to sound really, really black and white and tough or whatever you want, but it's like I don't want to borrow that. You know what I mean? I want to be around like happy, good vibes.
Yeah, that's it.
And it was. I don't remember that kind of stuff when I was younger.
Do you feel like as he's gotten older, like he's understanding it more, or is he still kind of stuck in his ways?
I think he's going to always be stuck in his ways, and it's hard for, I guess, not all parents, but him to sort of change that belief and really empathise, sympathise, feel compassion with us as kids or as his children. I think he's a lot better with it now, with my sister, but not so much with me because I'm a bit more brutal with him now.
Yeah.
I'm a bit more like black and white kind of thing with him.
Yeah.
And I still need to work on that with him and bring that wall down and work on bringing that wall down with him. It's a work in progress, man. Like,
that's it.
I'm fucking 35 and I'm still learning things as I go.
Do you feel like what's happened has affected, your relationships with your partner and stuff because you're not being able to open up?
I think when we first started, yeah. I was still working on trying to open up and communicate better when we first started dating. But now, like, fuck, she's so supportive, and like really, she's younger than me, but she's like switched on, very intelligent, way more intelligent than I am.
Yeah.
And it's really helped me like grow as a person as well.
Because I assume her upbringing would probably be nowhere near your one.
No.
So when you told her, she would have been like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, it's really understanding, and like I've learned so much from her family, and our friends around us as well, and really opened up and come out of my shell quite a bit.
Yep.
So it's weird how things affect you as a child, and they still affect you as an adult. Not all of it, some of it can, and the people around you and the people you connect with and all that kind of stuff, they really help you grow.
Yeah, that's it.
Really help you grow, and that's why I've sort of, what's the word, like linked up with you guys yourself, because what you're doing is helping people like myself.
Yeah, it aligns with you.
Yeah, 100%. And you can, you build and you learn and you grow from it all. It's been a tough ride. But that's still only a bit of a snippet.
Yeah. Because did you go down a dark path of drugs and alcohol and stuff like that?
Yeah,
Especially like when your mum passed. Because was it a rare kidney disease that she had, or?
yeah. So she suffered from a rare kidney disease. So when I was living in Adelaide, I think it was around 15 or 16, she told me that she had cancer.
Yep.
And like I was 15, 16, and I was like, what the fuck? Cancer? Like all this shit had been going on in my life, and then mum, you know, she's been struggling with her own stuff, with her own health, and she's like, oh, I have something to tell you, I've got cancer. And I was like, what the fuck? And then that triggered something in me, and I just lost it. I was drinking like nearly every day, nearly. I was only 16. Drinking nearly every day. I was sneaking out all the time. I was partying, like going to house parties and stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Just getting legless because it was my way of coping with the news I just got.
Yeah, just to shut it all off and pretend like it didn't happen.
Yeah, and like a lot of people who get hooked on like drugs or alcohol, a lot of the time, like you hear it, like you hear them say like they've had something bad go on in their life, so the way to escape is hitting the alcohol, getting on the drugs. So I was hitting alcohol quite often. I got to the point where she didn't tell me at the time, but she didn't tell me until I was like 20 or something like that. She told me that, and my sister told me that we moved from Adelaide because she thought you're going to kill yourself.
Like you were going to kill
Yeah,
you? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
from drinking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's like you're doing it too often, and she thought you were gonna end up dead. And it's like I did go through some like suicidal ideation from like a young from like 16 to like 18, 20.
Yeah.
Where I thought about it a lot just to get away. But the one thing that kept me going, well, there's a couple of things that kept me going, but I was thinking about me losing my siblings and my parents. And then you develop this like self-talk thing in your head as well, like, what the fuck are you thinking? Why the fuck are you thinking this?
Yeah.
You're a fucking idiot. That's how I thought about
Yeah.
it anyway. Because all this stuff was going in my mind. I'm like, thinking suicidal thoughts, and then I'd think about my sisters, like who's going to look after my sisters? Who's going to look after my mum?
Yeah.
And then I'd snap out and go, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you talking about? Nah. Don't be a bitch. Let's get this show on the road. Let's keep going. So those, like, like going through the traumatic stuff like that as a child, I think I developed, and I'm sure there's other people out there, developed this kind of like self-awareness, self-talk thing. So if I ever got into like a really deep, dark place, I'd be able to snap myself out of it by just telling myself, like, shut the fuck up and get on your horse and let's live, like, keep living. Be strong.
It's good that you had that, because so many people get in those dark spots and they see it, the only way out is to end their life. And it is sad, because I believe all this is preventative, and I believe there's a lot more to life. Just because you've had the shit for 16 years of your life doesn't mean the rest of your life's going to be fucking terrible as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I think being able to I was like young and immature. I'm a bit immature sometimes still, but
I don't think males ever grow up.
well, this morning I was in the pool doing like bombs just to try to get all the water out of the pool because it's so fun. Oh, come on.
Gotta have some fun.
Yeah. There's still that inner child in me as a 35-year-old man. But you develop this like self-awareness. Well, I did, and I always come back to those three things. Like, let's just fucking do it. Let's get out of this hole. You can do it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, and keep telling myself that kind of stuff. And like that went on from maybe, I think it got at its worst when I was like 18.
Yeah.
That suicidal ideation type of stuff. Then we moved out. Mum's like, nah, we're going. No reason. I tried to stall it as long as I could. I kept rocking up home late. I wouldn't pack my bags, that kind of stuff. Poor mum. My sisters, they're like waiting for me to get home and leave. But ended up moving up to Sydney, and we live in the Western Sydney areas.
Yep.
We moved like from Westmead Quakers Hill, Stanhope. We moved around a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's sort of when I discovered, I think I was like 21 or 20, 21 or 21 of them. That's when I discovered the drug scene. And
What drugs?
so I was I was really heavy on the pills,
Okay.
really heavy on the pills and like the MDA caps.
Yeah.
And it was fucking cheap. That's why people, well, it's not why, but that's why I was doing it. I was doing it nearly every day. I was addicted to using pills and getting on the caps and drinking because it was my escape. I didn't want to admit it at the time that it was my escape from all these, like, I don't know, fucking 18 years or whatever it is of trauma.
Yeah.
It was my escape. And I never wanted to admit it to myself. I knew it was there, but I never wanted to admit it to myself. And that's why I was just pumping everything I could. Those were really the only main ones I used. Thank God I didn't know what heroin was.
Yeah.
Didn't know what ice was, because I guarantee you at that time in my life I'd be dead, 100%. I'd be dead because I was in that frame of mind of I was reckless.
You just didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, I didn't give a fuck. I was reckless. I was selfish. It ruined like friendships, relationships, because I was so reckless. I was a loose cannon, very loose cannon.
Where you didn't give a fuck, and you're like, if I was gone today, you don't care. So you just like took whatever risks.
Yeah, I was like, fuck. This is how I thought of it then.
Yeah.
Like, off my guts, pumping drugs into me, alcohol. I'm out. If I died today, I wouldn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
That's how I thought. Sad to think like that, and like talking about it now, it's like, fuck, what a loser. But that's how I thought at that time. And again, immature.
Yeah.
And like, I think this stuff that I went through, it was bad. Like, don't get me wrong, it was really bad. But it's also, I think if I flip it and see it from another perspective, it's also a blessing in disguise, I believe. Because I've learned so much from it. I've learned that I don't want to be like that. I don't want to, bring my kids up into that type of environment. And that life, I do not want to live that life. That's not me. That's not me and my identity. That's what happened throughout my years of, young life, teenage years or whatever. But yeah, that's not me.
Yeah, I love that you had that perspective. Like, life happens for you, not to you. You have you here with that perspective. With your other siblings, did they go down like a real dark hole and still there? Because I've heard of stories where, siblings can have the same upbringing. One can look at it from your perspective and the other one can be like, oh, this happened to me, my life sucks, and just stay in that hole their whole life.
Yeah, no, they have their days.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all pretty fucking resilient. All of us are. And they have their days, but they're still, they still got families, they still got jobs.
Yeah, so none of them like ended up in jail or like drugs and like.
One of them did,
One
bro.
of them did, yeah.
That was for a short stint.
Yeah.
And that was stemmed from childhood. But he's out now. He's going really well. He's got a family. He's got his head switched on. So it affects everyone differently. Like, I could have easily been in jail. I could have easily been dead. Like, easy. But there's always that thing in my mind, let's not, kind of thing. There's something always there, like, okay, that's too far. But then there's some days where I was like, fuck it, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? But I think, that's where resilience comes in, and that self-talk stuff that I learned on my own. And I guess having, my friends' parents around as well that treated me like I was their own son. I've got so many friends that their parents treat me like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck, this is nice. It's strange, but it's nice, because I couldn't even do that. Like, that's not how my parents were. I didn't feel like my parents were like that until I was, 25 or something like that. So, yeah, it was pretty rough upbringing.
How did it affect you when your mum passed away?
Yeah, that was heavy too. That was really heavy, man. So I was at work. I was on a shift. Oh, sorry, I'll rewind back. So, like, I was taking my mum and sharing the responsibility with my sisters and my siblings to take her to her, I think it's 3 times a week dialysis.
Okay.
Over at Westmead. So like we're doing as best as we can, working between our own jobs and doing that for her. And in the last 12 months of her life, from 2015 to 2016, her her health just deteriorated like crazy, really bad. She started to forget who we were sometimes.
Oh, really?
And yeah, sometimes I had to pump her full of morphine because of the pain. And fast forward a bit, like I spend as much time as I could with her, and taking her lunch and try to take her out if we could, if she was allowed to leave the hospital, to like get sushi and that kind of stuff. That was some of my like best memories. And yeah, I was at work one day. I knew, like we were all prepared that something was going to happen any day. I was at work one day, got a call. I knew straight away.
Yeah.
She was gone. Didn't get to say goodbye. I did, every time I saw her, I told her I loved her and that kind of stuff, checking in on her all the time. But yeah, I just missed out. By the time I got to the hospital, even before that, she had already passed. But thankfully, my younger sister was there. She was there holding her hand, and she was able to be there for her. That triggered something in me mentally wise, where I was like, pretty much like the next day. Oh no, the same day. Like I was hallucinating. Like, I was seeing things, hearing things. I had some like pretty bad thoughts as well. Wasn't suicidal, but it's more of like I was angry. I was angry at the world. So those things I had to take. Like I took some time off to get myself back together. That kind of thing. Done a little bit of therapy. Wasn't much, but I tried medication. For like 2 weeks, but I didn't like that. It was, not 2 weeks, sorry, 2 months. Made me feel like shit.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. So, there was a handful of mates that I'd always speak with, talk about how I was feeling, and they're always there for me regardless. I think if I didn't have them around, and being around family as well really helped. Things could have been worse. Like I wouldn't have been able to get that out of. I wouldn't have been able to get out of that dark hole.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just crazy how that just triggered something in me. And I'm still grieving today. Grief is a huge thing as well.
She's your mum. You're always gonna love her and miss her. And
Yeah.
even though like your upbringing wasn't the best, like at the end of the day, she's your mum.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, I still grieve. I have my days here and there when I'm sitting there and something might trigger a feeling or thought about mum.
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel a bit sad, but I still get back to everyday life. But I think that's one of the things I think. I guess as a male, we need to remember as well. Like, just ride those emotions, experience them emotions.
Yeah, live in it. Live in the moment.
Yeah, if you feel sad, feel sad. It's perfectly normal to feel sad, feel angry, feel happy, feel whatever. But if we can just experience that and take it all in, you can learn from it and you can grow from it. So yeah, there's days where I'll just sit there and either go to the beach. That was a massive thing for me actually.
Yeah.
Talk about beach, going to the beach. Have you ever surfed?
No, I want to learn that.
We'll take you soon, bro. I've got a shitload of boards that we can go out. But have you how do you go about going to the beach? What do you do when you go to the beach?
Go in, swim, and just like chill. I like to just sit there and listen to the waves and stuff. It's so relaxing.
What are you thinking about when you're doing that?
Bro, there's so many different thoughts going through my head.
Oh really?
Yeah.
It's opposite for me then.
Like, I'm calm, but it's like sort of a meditation.
Yeah.
But just so many thoughts. Yeah. Depends what's happened to me on that day or what's going on in my life at that current point. But I'm just thinking about life and reflecting. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's like 3 things you brought up there, like calm, like you're at peace. You're listening to your surroundings, so it's kind of like a meditation.
Yeah.
And you're in your thoughts, reflecting. So it's like therapy.
Yeah.
So my therapy is going to the beach, not only sitting there and reflecting, but going for a surf. That was a huge thing for me. I was always out surfing, because when you're out surfing, a lot of like guys and girls that surf, they'd be able to relate, because when you're out surfing, you don't think about nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing at all.
You're just present.
You're just present there. Like, you're in nature, you're in the water, you're focused on, it just brings out this other side of happiness.
That's like me when I'm at waterfalls and stuff.
Yeah, same thing. You don't think of nothing. Like, you don't think of bills, you don't think of anything. You just think, fuck, like, you're just in this space of yourself and Mother Nature. So going to the beach was like a huge thing for me, huge type of therapy, and that really helps me get through tough days. Yeah, so I think if like, there's a lot of people that live out on the beach and go surfing and stuff, like, and they say, "Oh, you live in the dream." That aspect of it is like, that's something I think I'll thrive for, and hopefully one day I can get out there and live on the beach.
And it just goes to show how healing nature is.
It is, man. Like, going out and like going out for bushwalks, exploring, discovering new waterfalls, swimming holes, going to lookouts. It's bloody healing.
That's why I tell everyone, get out in nature. Like, it's my second home. You see it every day on my social media. I'm always in the bush.
Yep.
That is for one reason, because it's for my mental health, and it just helps me to, deal with my anxieties. If I had a bad day, I'm straight to the bush, and I feel so much better when I come out.
Yeah. And some people might be like going to the gym. That might be their pace. You going out bush. For me, going to the beach, even out the bush as well, because like it's a bit far from up here. But going out the bush, going to like swimming holes, discovering new tracks. Man,
and I think it all comes down to getting the body moving.
Yep.
If you get the body moving, bro, that's the best thing for your mental and your physical health.
100%. Because if you're laying in bed, most of the time you're laying in bed because you're like, fuck, I don't want to get out of bed.
You're just sitting there feeling sorry for yourself. And, like, you're choosing to suffer then.
Yeah.
Get outside, get your body moving, get fresh air. Like, fucking move, and you'll be surprised what happens.
Yeah. Well, some days I'm like, fuck, I don't want to get out of bed, and I'm just laying in bed, and my partner will be like, are you feeling all right?
But then when you do get out of bed and you get moving, how good do you feel?
Yeah. And you're like, oh, fuck, I should have just got out anyway. Yeah. Just force myself.
Just go jump in the pool, bro.
Yeah, do some bombs and go act like a little kid in the pool. But yeah, just get up and do it. Like, if you don't, you're not going to know unless you get up. Well, if you get up and exercise and stuff, you're going to be like, all right, sweet, I'm back on. Here I am. I'm back and present.
Yeah, just find what works for you, and as I said, get the fucking body moving.
That's it. Listen to this bloke. Everyone, he knows what he's talking about. He's always out in the bush, and you see how happy this guy is. So go get it.
So come back a bit. During that time period after the loss of your mum, did you said you gone surfing that, but did you go more heavy into the drinking or drugs, or was that kind of like a turning point where you're like, I need to get my life on track here?
Like, I was like, it wasn't bit like, I was more like drinking on the weekend, have a couple of beers at night, but I didn't hit the alcohol or anything or drugs or anything like that to cope. I was trying to cope with it without drinking.
Okay.
Yeah, so the way I coped was exercise. So I was training like fucking a couple times a day, like a couple hours a day, walking, listening to music, like blasting my music. And going to the beach as much as I could. Yeah. And like, for me at that time, beach was nearly 2 hours away, or hour and a half drive. But I was making sure, because I knew, like, if you know that's something that helps you,
do it.
Yeah, do it. But you're going to spend the time to go, go to the beach if it's only an hour and a half, because it helps you. Yeah, you'll make time for it because it's helpful for you. So those were the main things as well. And I had a group of mates, a handful of close mates, where I'd check in with them, like they'd check in with me every day for a long time. So I'm grateful for them, man, because they're just being there, just listening to me, listening to the weird shit I was talking about. They helped me get through. And as well, and my family as well. My two sisters. The ones that I was always looking after. We all sort of grieved together and spent as much and spoke as much to each other as possibly could. Yeah, so they were the main things that got me through.
That's awesome, man. Let's touch on fatherhood for a bit. So we're both about to be father. Well, second time for you.
Yeah.
So you already got a son
Yes.
from a previous relationship. You don't get to see him as much.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of males out there listening are in similar situations.
Mm.
How does that kind of affect you, and how do you deal with that?
It's because it's been nearly 3 years now. I see him fortnightly, right? So it's taken me a lot of like self-talk,
Yeah.
therapy, talking to friends, partner, family to deal with, I guess, sadness behind it
Yeah.
and the thoughts of like, oh, missing out on this, missing out on that, don't get to see him. And man, it's so common. Like so many people, males out there, who aren't able to go have time with their child for whatever reason. But I think the way I manage it is, really talking, communicating, and I guess doing my daily routine stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and doing as much as I can for him, whether that's money for him, which is like everyone's got to
Yeah.
pay child support, so I'll still do that all the time. Give him money when I see him, buy him whatever the fuck he wants when I see him,
Mm-hmm.
buy stuff for him all the time. As long as if I can have an impact on him in that way, that really helps me as well. And like just seeing him on my fortnightly visits, even if it's a phone call, or hearing his voice, that me being able to do that stuff for him makes it that phone, even if it's like a 5-minute phone call, it makes that wait all worthwhile.
How has it affected your connection with him? Like, do you still feel like you have that father-son connection, or is it harder?
I really I still feel like I do have that father-son connection with him, even though it's only like once a fortnight.
Yeah.
When he sees me, he sees his little face light up. He's like, Dad, let's go play.
Okay, that's good.
And like, he's always trying to, he's into the like Avengers thing now.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's Avengers stage now, so he thinks he's the Hulk. So he's always trying to like bash me and stuff like that, and like wrestle me and all that kind of stuff. And like puts on his like scary face. I'm gonna bash you. Like, it's like, oh, okay.
Have you bought him the Hulk gloves yet?
Yeah, I bought him like a full outfit and like a
God.
mask and stuff, and some toys. So like, yeah, like I was saying, like it's fucking shit situation, but perspective.
Yeah.
If you flip it on the other side and look from another perspective, how can I make something good out of this? How can I benefit from this?
It's focusing on what you can control, not on what you can't.
Yeah. And if that means I see him once a fortnight, if it's on a video call or face to face at the park or something, so be it. Make the most of it. Talk to him as much as you can if it's on the phone. Get as much out of him as you can. Send him stuff, or when you're with your child, all my time is focused on him.
Yeah.
The only I put my phone away. The only time I got my phone out is if I'm taking videos or photos.
Yeah.
That's it. If focus on what you have there right in front of you, and make the most of it. Given the situation, make the most of that time with him, because he's going to remember that.
That's it.
So the thing I remember is all my shit stuff, right, as a kid, because they say like studies shows like from the age of 0 to 5 is when a child's brain starts developing and learning at its peak. Well, then by the age of, I think it's 6 or 8, a child's brain is 95% at its adult capacity.
Okay.
Yeah, so by the time he's 8, or by the time I was 8, I had gone through all this shit. So I always remember that. I always conscious of that stuff when I'm with him. So what I want him to remember me, and as best as possible, is just laughing, smiling, having fun, reminding him that I love him, saying that just those basic stuff. And I guess it's a bit different for me because I grew up in like such a fucking different world. So I know that I don't want my child to remember shit like that. So I'm consciously aware that, be happy with him, tell him you love him, make him laugh, spend all your focus and time on him, even if it's for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
Yeah, it's like quality over quantity. Like, no doubt you would want to be around him all the time, but
Yeah.
for him, like, or for any kid, like, you'd rather have a father that's spending quality time with you than a father that's always there but doesn't want nothing to do with you.
Yeah, and you see a lot of the time, like, out and about, like, the kids are playing and stuff like that, but the parents are, like,
They're sitting there on their phones and shit. I'm like, go out there with
what
your
the
child and
fuck,
play.
man? Like, if that was me, I'd be, like, fucking playing with him, getting sweaty, climbing all the way up to the top of the fucking playground with him.
That's what I'm most excited for
Yeah.
when my kid's born. I'm like, I'm jumping in with you too.
Yeah,
I'm a big kid.
Yeah. I don't want to be. I don't want to be one of them. Those parents where you're like, your child comes like, oh, let's go run around laps, or go play, Dad. Come on. Well, I want to be that person. I was like, yeah, let's go, and just go with him the whole time. Just keep up with him the whole time. Wear him out, because those memories they're always gonna fucking remember.
Yeah.
They're gonna remember that you made the effort. You made the effort to get sweaty, run around with him, spend that quality time with him, whether it's for 5 minutes or for the whole day.
It's those good habits and, those healthy habits too, which if they learn from you and they're going to continue on for the life.
Yeah, that's right. So they're going to remember that stuff. So if there's any dads out there going through a similar situation, whatever time you get or whatever capacity you have to communicate with them, make it memorable, fun. Tell them you fucking love them and miss them, or whatever you want to do. Tell them that. Talk to them, communicate them, make them feel like they're important. That you're their world, because they're going to remember that, no doubt.
No, I love that, dude. And moving on, last year with your new relationship, miscarriages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How did that affect you? Because that would have been a really tough situation for you both.
Yeah, it was really tough. Hey, I think because I think it's really hard for a couple, especially if the couple aren't on the same page, same level.
Yeah.
So if you're really connected with your partner, I feel like it's a bit easier to get through those really challenging times. It was pretty challenging for myself, but I think more for my partner, because as a female, I think they automatically think that it's their fault.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you, any female listening to this now, like and they've experienced that. That's one of their go-to things.
They feel like their body's failed them.
Yeah, they feel like their body's failed, or they've done something wrong. But it just happens, unfortunately, and it's really difficult thing to go through. Yeah, my partner was like really broken, real broken, especially for her. So, I had to try, do my best to be there for her mentally, physically, emotionally as well, and hold her hand through it all, through the scans and everything. And I think just being, if you're connected and intertwined and strong as a couple, you can get through anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Get through anything. Any adversity, any challenge might be difficult, but you can get through anything.
And you got another blessing on their way.
Yes. Well, funny story. Fucking hell. So the doctors, God love them, went to a 20-week scan, and we didn't want to know what the gender was. So we done this whole gender reveal at our place, and popped the balloon, and it's fucking pink. Yeah, there's a girl coming. Sweet, we've got a girl. And then I don't know, maybe months later or something like that. We did some more scans, just the regular scans, and the nurse was like, do you know what gender you're having? And we're like, yeah, it's a girl. And she was like, oh, who told you that? well, the doctor did, obviously. But yeah, it turns out we're having a boy, so yeah, blessing on the way, due pretty soon, like yourself.
Yep.
Yeah, it's exciting times ahead.
Oh, that's crazy, bro. I made sure my missus, every time she goes for a scan, to check, just in case.
Yeah. Are you hoping for a boy?
I was wanting a boy, but then when I found out it was a girl, I was like, you know what? I'm super pumped, eh?
Yeah, hits you different.
I think either way, you're just like, it's your child. Like, you're just so excited for you. Like, you bought all the clothes and stuff. And I remember you telling me, I was like, fuck, imagine if you couldn't get a refund and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I was like...
You would have just dressed them up as a girl.
Yeah. Like, you'll be right. We spent like hundreds of dollars on all these clothes and stuff. And then we found that out, and we're like, oh, fuck. What are we going to do now? But thankfully, like, everywhere's just let us exchange it for boy stuff. We'll get credit. So
Oh, grateful. Bro.
roller coaster. We're
That's
grateful.
It, and when's your partner due again?
So it's supposed to be in March 17th.
Yep.
But because of the, she's got some placenta difficulties going on. Most likely between 1st of Feb and the end of Feb. So it's
exciting, bro.
Yeah.
My missus is due 25th of January, so a few weeks away. It's
25th or 21st?
25th.
21st, man.
Oh, is it?
No, my birthday.
Oh, birthday,
so,
that's it. Who knows? Could be, bro.
You never know.
Bro, it feels so surreal, though, and, like, the time has gone so quick. It feels like only yesterday she told me she was pregnant.
I know, it just flies. Like, what? Like, where's the time going?
I know. It's like we're in 2022 already. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, this guy's going to have a little daughter running around, bossing him around soon.
Bro, she already has me wrapped around her.
Going to put you in line, mate. It hits you different, but when you hear, like, oh, you're going to have a daughter, it's a different. Hit me different. I think it might have been maybe because I was always, like, looking after my sisters.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why, I don't know, but having a daughter, I think it's pretty special too.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting, bro. She's going to be a little podcaster.
Yeah, nice. You have to get her on when she gets a little bit older.
When she can learn to talk.
I forget her to interview you.
Yeah, it would be good fun. But yeah, man, like on the whole miscarriage thing, you did the walk for pink elephants. You want to kind of touch on that and talk about your experience there?
Yeah, so we got the news of when we had the miscarriage, which was devastating. The doctor gave us this brochure. Gave us a few brochures, and one of them really stood out. It's called the Pink Elephants Organisation, or Support Network, sorry. And we looked at it and had all this information about support groups and resources about miscarriage and all that kind of stuff. So we looked into it. My partner joined a support group, and it's where like couples, females, they have this support group where they talk about issues with difficulties in their pregnancy, and get advice from each other and sort of roll off each other about that and brainstorm stuff, and it's really supportive. And then, like, when was it? So that child would have been due November 12th, 2021, and then I think it was about October. I just come up with this random idea because we're talking about pink elephants, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to walk for 24 hours from our place in the Blue Mountains to Bondi Beach. It was just a spur of the moment thing. I feel like I need to do something to help support my partner, but not only that, myself and other people who have gone through that. So yeah, I had 4 weeks to prep, get a couple of sponsors, make up flyers and all that kind of stuff, and I started up a fundraiser.
Yep.
With the Pink Elephants support, and ended up raising well over $5,000 in 4 weeks.
Fuck, that's all right.
Yeah, so that all goes to the organisation, and they continue doing the amazing work they're doing. And yeah, so I set off on November the 12th with a couple of friends, and a few others joined as well, from my place to Bondi Beach. We made it there. Man, that was fun, eh? That was freaking so much fun, eh? We were a bit delirious sometimes, like when it was like hit midnight.
Yeah.
There was no sleep. We just walked, we ate, had checkpoints across the Western Sydney suburbs, putting up content and stuff like that along the way, and it was fun. And then we made it to Bondi Beach. It was like a beautiful sunny day when we rocked up. Like, it was clear water, nice little waves going, and like there was a vibe when we started walking down Bondi in 26 hours, and we were just wrecked. We were wrecked.
What was the hardest bit of it all?
Ooh. That's a good question. The hardest bit, I think the hardest bit would have been, like, you mean during the walk itself?
Yeah, during the walk itself.
I think the hardest part was going through, I think it's Leichhardt. Is it Leichhardt? Parramatta Road, Leichhardt.
Yeah.
In towards like Surrey Hills. I think that was the most challenging part because there's so many friggin' hills. we knew we were like, we were nearly there, but these hills just put us back a couple of hours easy.
Yeah.
It was just hill after hill after hill after hill. So I think that was the most difficult part. During the night was, early hours of the day was night or whatever, morning was, that was pretty easy, I reckon. There was no one around, not much traffic, didn't have to stop, we just kept pumping through. So I think, going through the city was the hardest part.
Any like funny stories or people coming up to you and saying like, what are you doing?
I do have a funny story, but it's probably not appropriate for the potty, but I'll share, like, we're walking through Auburn, and it's probably not a funny story, but it's just a story to tell. We're walking through Auburn. Do you know where Auburn Macca's is?
Yeah.
So we're walking past there, it's pitch black, and we hear this commotion going on to our right at Macca's. Big punch up happening at Macca's. There's a bunch of like blokes just swacking on with each other. We're just cruising past, like waving. Yeah, have fun. See you later. So I think that was probably one of the funny highlights of the trip. But yeah, I'll tell the other story off air.
Too easy, man. And I guess as we start to wrap up, is there anything else you wanted to touch on or any advice for the listeners?
Yeah, definitely. I think one main thing, or a couple of main things, I think, is no matter what kind of dark day you're having, just remember there's people out there that care about you. There's people out there you can reach out to no matter what is going on, regardless of what's happening. And don't feel like you're a burden to people. I think that's a huge thing. Like, don't feel like you're a burden to people by reaching out to them and just saying, hey, mate, like, I'm struggling today. Can I call you? Because I can guarantee you they're like, yep, no worries.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't think that you're a burden.
Awesome, dude. And what does it mean for you to have a better life?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me this question. I didn't prep any for it. What does it mean to me to have a better life? Well, if we're going from the life that I started to the work I've done now, and I'll continue doing, I think just being happy in yourself and your life, and having the people around you can really improve yourself and having a better life.
Awesome, dude. And when your time's all up and done in this earth, what would you like to be remembered for?
Oh, good question. I think I'd want to be remembered for, that person who kept giving and kept pushing, and gave his partner and family and friends everything he possibly could to do his best in life.
Awesome, dude. Bro, Jesse, thank you so much, man.
Thanks for having me.
All good, bro. For the listeners, where can they best find you on social media if they want to connect?
Yeah, so I mainly use my Instagram. It's Jesse James. What's my last name, Nick?
Haurua. There we go.
Jesse James Haurua. Haurua.
Awesome, bro. Man, this episode has been real. It's been raw.
It's been deep, but
thank you so much for opening up, because as I said, it takes a lot of courage for you, especially as males, for us to sit down here and have the conversations and talk about what's happened to us in our past. And it's, as you said, it's traumatic experiences and stuff. So super grateful.
No worries, bro. And just want to thank you for inspiring me. I'm 35. I'm 35, and inspiring me to talk about my childhood and all that shit that happened to me, because it helps me grow, helps everyone around you grow. So I really love what you're doing and appreciate you and grateful for you.
Appreciate it, bro. Thank you. And for all the listeners, I know you would have got some value out of this episode.
Shit.
Please remember to like, share and subscribe. Share it on your social media. Give us a rating on iTunes, on Spotify, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Cheers.